AKA Padders, welcome back to another video. We're going to explain on yesterday's video, Image Comics. Was it a scam? Did it screw you over? Did it fail you? That's right, we have a lot of creators in the wake of Image Comics. I'm going to elaborate. AKA Padders, welcome back. AKA Pad 69 here, Peter 8, the Luke and Say with me, known through Philadelphia, PA, Europe, and the vast multiverse as your eclectic one. I'm just going to get right into it. Let's go! We're talking about Image Comics, what it really was, what it really meant. Baseline, guys, Image Comics, and we're elaborating on yesterday's video. Image Comics hasn't done anything for creator or creator rights. Everyone involved with Image Comics leading into the formation of Image Comics, they were all milli years. They were all cash bags. These people were already making the bank through Marvel comic books, namely. No one from DC crossed over. And there was a reason why when they left Marvel, they didn't go to DC, because DC would have cut them a better deal. We know that. That's documented. The reason why Image Comics was formed is because those guys knew they could do less work and make the same amount of money. And you might say to yourself, Pete, but they all launched companies and titles and all these other things, all but, Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson mostly. But they were kind of very insular. But no. Like, for example, Rob Liefeld makes the bank with Youngblood. He makes his own X-Force money with Youngblood, and he duplicates that with Brigade, makes more bank, makes another bank with another title called Supreme, because these guys could launch. They were launch experts. They couldn't maintain a monthly book, so they just kept launching, and eventually it caught up to them. You can make arguments it did catch up to Jim Lee and Wildstorm Productions, because 3 years into Wildstorm Productions, we saw how desperate and drawn out a lot of those titles were. They were like, just look-wise, deviations from where they were when they launched. I always think of Backlash. And look, I love Javier Kirby, great substitute for Brett Booth, but it's still not the same. Or even Ron Lim coming in on Stormwatch. It's like, WTF, you don't fit the style of the book, the attitude of the company, but you're there because you can get a 22, 24 page book done in roughly, I would say Ron Lim's pace, 12 to 18 days. So anyway, we're going to show this off a little bit here. We're going to do something different. As I'm speaking of this book, I'm going to be showing it to you. So Roy Burdine, I looked him up. He's roughly award-winning animation director, and a lot of you might say, well, look, this guy, what's your gripe? How's he connected to Image Comics? Why should we use him as a cautionary tale? And how does he build your case for Image Comics is a failure and a fraud or a scam? We're going to try and elaborate this. Roy does this write-up at the end of issue 1, and he essentially speaks of these terms that the Image guys were echoing. Marvel's evil, monthly grind of a book, not being appreciated, being beaten up by editors. People, this is almost like the rise of the or the entitled artist, and it kind of makes me understand now why Marvel and DC backed away from artists post formation of Image Comics, because artists wanted all of the glory and none of the work, and they just wanted more and more money and more stake within these books. And what we found out was that the industry carried on without focus on artists. Roy here, he gets caught up in all of this, and he's got the accolades, and he's got the the background to have a career and have endless credits in comic books. And what what blew me away was that the quality of this black and white book. There is such an elegance to his line work. He pays attention to backgrounds. Now, given on the back end of issue 2, we lose a lot of the detail and line work that made issue 1 as good as it was, but we have kind of like villains and atmosphere structured around black and white, meaning texture and grit and grime. Black and white comic books lend themselves perfectly to this, and you guys are seeing it as I'm speaking to you. But Roy effectively left a career path with the big 2 to pursue what he felt was true and honest, inspired by Image Comics, and in effect found out that his Deadforce comic book was not Shadowhawk or Spawn or Savage Dragon. Roy, right here, this is an example of the industry at the time. So many people followed the words of Tom McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Mark Silvestri, Eric Larson, Jim Valentino, essentially everyone but Jim Lee. I leave Jim Lee out of this because I've done a hell of a lot of study on Jim Lee, and I'm pretty confident in what he has said around this time, because it is a constant study from our Wildstorm Wednesdays show, available right here on YouTube. Go check it out. Little plug for myself. But it's this idea that, and Tom McFarlane too, like, he really hit this point home a lot of times, a lot of interviews, even videotapes, all of these things that Tom McFarlane was involved with at the time, where McFarlane would just essentially say, you have to do this, like, you have to follow my path, because when you follow my path, you're going to get fortune and glory. And if you look at the amount of creators, young veterans and guys that are right there in the middle that followed suit. I mean, we had Larry Stroman leave a fantastic run on X Factor to pursue Tribe and with Image Comics, and later with Axis Comics, and he completely derailed what would have been a benchmark mutant run. His work was peaking at the time. He could have went on for X Factor for 100 issues and people would have loved it, and he would have been collaborating with Peter David, and it just would have been perfect. Now, like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, they're being a little bit hyperbolic, but hopefully you guys see my point. The creators that came up through the houses of Image Comics, talking about guys like Dane Fragan, Brett Booth, Marat Michaels, only a handful of them carried over into the big 2 for careers. Jim Lee, because of the sale to DC, was able to sustain careers of a lot of this talent that he sourced out, brought up, and nurtured. Jim Lee got, you can argue, got his money's worth through DC Comics and the apparatus that they provided, because clearly Wildstorm Productions could not provide that. But I just look at this book as the true definition of the fallout of Image Comics, which is not everything you create, not everything you do is going to be as successful. Wildcat, Spawn, Savage Dragon, Cyberforce, Youngblood, and even the Max, and even Pit. And you might say, well, what about those guys, Pete? Look, second generation guys, it was still hot. There was a lot of, that fire for Image burned brightly for 3 years, and there was a lot of people that were able to cash in on books while they could, and then kind of roll. St. Keith being one of the anomalies, like you rolled back into the big 2, and mostly it's probably because they were sick of him and some of his deadline work. Mostly, overcommitting himself. He's a little bit famous for that. But no, people, this Deadforce book completely changed my perspective of what exactly Image Comics was, and we get to hear it. We get to hear the mindset from the creator himself. He wrote it. I read it. It's here. Here's the proof. But no, just look, guys. I know this is controversial, and I know it's spun a lot of heads, but this is a lot of what we do here. I feel like it's absolutely important because we challenge the status quo. We challenge a lot of what we think is true. That's a lot of what this year has been all about. I don't look for these things. I don't like have a list and reverse engineer. I come to you guys as quickly as possible when lightning strikes my brain and I'm inspired, and hopefully when you guys do your own endeavors, you incorporate some of that into what you're doing as well. Because look guys, it's good to have ideas of what you want to produce or content wise, but you do get inspired, and it's good to kind of jump in front of the camera and bring it to you. I think there's an honesty to that. I'm not saying that Image never did anything good, but creator owned comic books were in existence long before Image Comics. Those inspired by these easy stories, right? These you just have to do this stories, the chasing fortune and glory that was prolificated. Did I say that right? That were pushed by Image Comics because it was part of their story. Yeah, there was a lot left in that wake, and what can I say, guys? I don't agree with it. I believe this is a part of Image Comics history that no one's ever touched on. We're going to be touching on it more and more. I'm going to build a stack of books just like this, and we're going to hit this point all the way home. AKAPAD here. Subscribe, support, leave a comment, and again, thank you for all the support. Big drawing day today. I saw a lot of you guys in the streams. I love it, guys. You keep me going. Hopefully you get a little inspired just by getting out there and doing stuff. Flex all day, flex all night.
I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay? Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby, have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the